is the Bill Squire Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bill Squire Show. I am your host, Bill Squire, and I'm here with Miles. You might know Miles as Taintsmasher. You might know him on social media as Fake Real Miles. I don't know how to pronounce his last name after all these years, but I'm going to take a shot at it. Hlivko? Hlivko?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, okay.
I actually have multiple aliases on my credit report just from my name being spelled wrong so many times throughout my life.
That's funny. That's that's one of those things where like people, I don't know, that struggle seems ridiculous, and so like I get upset when they're doing the whole like, oh, people need to learn how to pronounce other names. Like some names are just hard to pronounce. Some words especially I have a what's it called where you move the letters around? Dyslexia.
I was gonna say like anagram.
Yeah, well, I have dyslexia.
Your brain just works in anagrams.
Yeah, it works like opposite of anagrams. Like, oh, here's a regular word, and then we're gonna mix it up and screw it up for you. But so like pronouncing words like that are just always a pain in my ass. So like I'll practice them. Like once I knew like Giannis Antetokounmpo was gonna be a big star, I practiced saying his name. Like I went and listened to how he liked it to be pronounced properly, and then I practice it a bunch of times so that I could actually say it. But some people, you know, they'll be like, I can't believe people get my name wrong. It's not that hard. I'm like, no, sometimes it's hard. It's hard. It's not because you're white or black or whatever it is. It's just some names are fucking weird.
I had a recording session with one of the girls from Fifth Harmony, Lauren Heidecker, and I like went to YouTube and looked up all these interviews with her. And so like when I don't know how to pronounce somebody's name, I pull up YouTube interviews and just listen to how they say it, because like, you know, you figure however they say their name is the correct way to say it, right? And so I practiced this, and then I said it when I met her, and she was very impressed. And then she went into her liners and was saying her own name, and apparently had been coached to say her own name as Haregi. And so like it was almost like a rebranding to make it easier for people to say, which makes sense. You know, like it's a hard, like if you look at the name Heidecker, it's like I'm gonna spell it wrong, but it's like Jauregi. I guess it's not that complicated, but like I don't know, it's kind of a fucked up name. So yeah. I understand the need to want to make it easier for people to pronounce, but because I was trying to get it right, I somehow still managed to fuck up. You know?
Right, because she's like, yeah, you got it right, but we changed it, so you're still wrong. We moved it. Yeah.
I'm allowed to cuss, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Say whatever you want within the guidelines of not causing an insurrection.
Okay, no problem.
So Miles makes a ton of music. He does all sorts of. You probably, if you listen to iHeartRadio, you've heard Miles, his voice. But I was listening to some music the other day that wasn't you, but I was like, ooh, this guy actually sounds like Miles when he sings. And I'm wondering if you can guess who I'm going to say if you've heard this before.
Is it like, so I mean my songs are mostly comedy. Is this a comedy singer?
It's not a comedy singer. I just think you guys have similar qualities in your singing voices.
And I don't know. No, nobody is setting. The only person anybody has said to me is Bill. Not Bill. Fucking David Bowie.
David Bowie. Okay. The one that I noticed was the lead singer of Real Big Fish has some very Miles. I wouldn't say you guys have the same voice, but you guys hit similar notes in the same way.
I don't know that I've ever heard a Real Big Fish song.
Okay, well, you know, like Sell Out and Beer and stuff like that. So give them a listen, and maybe just again, I don't think you have like the same voice, but you hit some similar notes and tones and stuff like that. The tonality of it might be similar.
Yeah, I'm pulling them up right now. I'm gonna judge how mad I'm gonna be about this once I hear this. Sell Out. Let's listen to this.
Yeah,
so it's like a ska rock band, right?
Yeah. And it's, I'll edit the dead air out of this too.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess I could see that.
And it's one of those things where it's like, and again, I don't think you sound exactly like, but I feel like if that guy ever quit the band and you wanted to be in a one of the most successful ska bands of all time,
That's
which
super
is
don't.
yeah. Yeah, but I was listening to them the other day and I thought of that. But your songs are comedy and they're funny and they're well made and uh it's fun and you know you do all the Jeffrey Poop parodies. How many of those have you written by now?
Well, how many I've written and how many I've made are different numbers,
Okay,
but
okay.
I think in total there's got to be at least, I think there's probably at least like 300 of them at this point.
That's
Um,
so many.
it's a lot, you know, like most of them are relatively short. You know, I try to keep them between like, I don't know, I'd say the average length of them is like 30 seconds.
Hmm.
So that makes it more manageable. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's hard to be funny in a song for 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, and it's hard to want to listen to a funny song for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's really not necessary. Like because especially like you know with parody and songs like that, it becomes very repetitive. So you're like, okay, we got the joke. So like to make a funny song that can be 3 or 4 minutes long, that's a whole nother skill set. But just like the quick hitters and the parody songs that you do are very funny. But also I much prefer your original music to the parodies just because
Thank you.
it's got like a just a silliness and like an aggressiveness to it and and I never know what's coming. You can kind of with a parody song you can always kind of figure out where the punches are going to be and kind of what direction, you know, once you hear what the take is on the parody. But with your stuff it's just wild and silly and I love it. And then I like that process that you have where you're just like making these like 1 minute songs and it's, you know, just kind of uh spur of the moment kind of stuff.
So yeah, so I've been trying to. Well, I watched a Reggie Watts did improv class for theater out here in LA called Dynasty Typewriter, and that's they're sort of like a I don't know if I feel like a douche saying alternative comedy, but I guess that's kind of what it is. Like it's that kind of place.
Mhm.
You know, like it's the kind of place where you would expect to see Paul F. Tompkins style stuff, maybe like Sarah Squim, if you're familiar with her.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a little more broad or not broad, but it's a little more like nuanced and weird and kind of out there. And yeah, I
yeah,
get the term like alternative comedy is annoying because it is just comedy. It's just not straightforward like, you know, there you have to let them be a little bit I would say more experimental comedy.
yeah, that's a way better word for it. Yeah. But so they did a improv class virtual thing with Reggie Watts, and I watched that, and it wasn't so much instructional as it was him just talking about his journey in doing improv and how he's got to where he is now. But the whole thing was really inspiring to me, and that's when I started. You know, I have this little like Korg Chaos Pad thing, and you're able to loop on it. It's probably one of the worst options that you could probably go for if you wanted to loop something because Alan Cox was asking me like what I use, and I told him that, and I was like, honestly, the thing fucking sucks. But you know, it's yeah, it's usable, but there are many limitations with it. But that's kind of what inspired me to start doing those and like working on improvising music and just kind of getting out of my own way to let the ideas come out. And so that's a lot of fun to do. But it's a muscle you have to exercise frequently in order to be able to do it reliably. I found, you know, because I've stopped doing it just for a couple weeks because I had other creative projects that I wanted to work on. And so last Friday I was doing my Twitch stream and I tried improvising some music and I was just hitting walls, man. Just a bad day for it. So it's like the more you do it, the easier it gets, I guess.
Yeah, and that's I mean that's anything, but especially anything in the creative field where you do have to work that muscle like doing stand up. Like I'm doing stand up probably once every 2 weeks right now. And so when I go up there, especially like this weekend, I was at Hilarities, and but like night one, you're feeling okay, but by like the fourth show on Saturday, I'm like, oh man, I really got this back. I'm doing good. And then that's the end of the weekend, and now I got to wait another couple weeks before I'm back at Hilarities again, and it's
I remember
really
the first
annoying to have to like uh kind of have that ebb and flow.
the first time I saw you do stand up was at the first Alan Cox Show comedy tour, I think.
Mhm.
And I remember like I thought that you fucking stole the show. And I remember being like really impressed at how you on stage like just commanded the attention of the whole crowd without being like begging for attention. Like you're not like loud and obnoxious, but you know, you just had like that comfort on stage that really commanded attention. And I was really impressed by that.
Thanks, man. And that's also something that comes with a lot of time and just doing it in all sorts of venues. So I've done enough venues now where whether it's a big open auditorium or a crappy bar gig or whatever it is, I've done them all. And even like with all these, now I've got all these outdoor shows that I've done this year and the Zoom shows. So you just keep putting those, feathers in your quill or quiver or whatever, arrows in your quiver. And you just work with what you have, and it's such a fun feeling. The one thing that's still intimidating to me is a very large theater. So like I've done the Masonic Temple and some like Playhouse Square ones, and doing those just because the call and response is a little bit longer and the
Okay.
silence is so deafening that it can be, especially if it's like a real echoey one. Like Masonic Temple is very echoey in there. So you really have to take your time and go slow and let the audience come with you, and just like, it takes a while to figure that out and learn how to perform. Whereas like in a club where like everything's tight and right on top of you, everything's like super fast and you're just banging real quick.
So what does that mean? Like you're waiting for like the words that just came out of your mouth to stop resonating throughout the room?
Yeah, not even just that, but like you want to hear there's going to be a little bit of bounce around, but also not going too fast so that your words are landing on top of your other words. So if I'm doing like a longer setup, I got to pace it to a point where I'm not going to go too fast, and it's gonna kind of get all smushed together. And it's not
I've
even necessarily the sound of it; it's more the delivery of it in a big room like that, because everybody just experiences a stage like that in a different way versus a smaller room.
So what's you know, you said you did hilarities yesterday, and also my brother like played a show last night. And forgive me for sounding like a California pussy, but you guys you have live events like
Yeah, well, Hilarities has gone above and beyond to make sure, there's live events that are happening that are not uh what I would call cove, like, protocol friendly, but Hilarities has everybody, like they're at less than half capacity. So they're
okay,
doing shows and they're having everybody like spaced out tables, every other row for like the seated areas, like and then they have the partitions between them, like the the plexiglass partitions. You have to wear a mask. You have to, you know, they've done a great job, and they've been open since July and haven't had a problem. None of their staff has gotten sick. So like, I think
that's
that's the
great.
biggest testament to that, the fact that they've been doing it right. And I probably said that, and now they're going to be like, oh, we got a whole thing, but they've done a great job with it. And so that's the only place I've been performing because they've done such a good job.
That's great to hear. Like it's heartbreaking to see places that you know you love to go to and like showcase you know like the kind of shit that you're specifically into like going out of
Mhm.
business because they're not able to do anything. You know.
Yeah, it really is heartbreaking, and it makes you feel so helpless, and like, you know, and Hilarities is hanging on by like their teeth. Like they're not killing it right now. They're just barely paying the bills, and they're gonna accrue quite a bit of debt while they're in this phase. But it's this or die, and so they
Right.
just got to keep doing what they can. And so there's been some really good weekends and some tougher weekends, but they're doing everything they can to keep going. And like I said, they're doing it right as best as I can see. Where they also have like a fog, like the sanitation process is good. They have a uh, system that they installed for the HVAC that they got when it was to so people could smoke inside.
Oh,
But it actually works really well for keeping the air clean, especially like a big open room like that, for to have fresh air circulated. And
do they have?
also, and then they have like the whatever, you retrofit it with those lights or whatever that zaps the air as it comes through too.
Do they have like the dude walking around with the incense ball, like at Eastern Orthodox churches,
Oh
just
yeah.
like filling up the room with that incense.
They have something like that. It's like a fogger that looks like a Nerf gun, and they just go and spray it all over the place. And it's pretty funny to watch the cleansing process.
My dad's side of my family is Eastern Orthodox, and I remember going to church, and they would always do that at the beginning of the service. And I, like as an adult, I've only gone to that church for funerals. But like when I see that happening, I'm like wondering, like, is this such an ancient tradition because people used to smell so fucking bad that they needed to just like make the room smell good so that people wouldn't leave?
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
and
like
then you also have a dead body that probably wasn't properly embalmed the way we do it now. So
yeah,
that was probably another portion of it. But yeah, that's something we probably take for granted is how good people smell these days
yeah,
versus back in the day.
yeah. Like back in the day, if maybe people didn't do oral sex a whole lot because it was just too funky.
Oh yeah, I couldn't imagine. But maybe they also got used to it enough. They're like, let's get done. Or it's just like, all right, you were just in the river. We can make this happen today. But it's a river day activity.
Sometimes my wife will go down on me and I'm like, "Oh, you poor woman. Like
Oh
today
man,
is a bad day."
yeah. My girlfriend, like, there's been times where I've stopped her and be like, hold on, we this came out of nowhere. I was not ready. I got to go scrub up a little bit because it gets weird. It gets funky down there.
This is a huge advantage of having a jacuzzi. Like this was the selling point of this house for me when we got the house. And so when we moved in, there was this ancient like 1980s hot tub with like wood paneling that was all termite destroyed,
Hmm.
rats living inside of there, but I didn't care. I was like, yo, hot tub, I want to hop in that fucking thing. And so like the jets weren't working at first, so I had to hire an electrician to come out, and he kind of Mickey Moused it to work. And it something it didn't work great, like if you didn't pay attention to it, it would just keep heating up and keep heating up to the point where you're like a frog in a pot boiling. And there were times where I would stick my foot in there and it's like, oh my God, that is the jets aren't even on. It's just actually boiling. So eventually we got that one replaced with a newer one that is not infested with rats. But an advantage of having a hot tub is if it's time to get frisky and you don't want to be funky, you just hop in there, get a little rinse, and it's a sexy little hangout time. So
Oh yeah, we have a pool in, like, I live in a condo, Lakeview, and we got a pool out front. So in the summertime, a pool and maybe a quick rinse in the shower. But even just, there's definitely days where I went straight from the pool to work and, or other things, little sexy time or whatever.
you're
And you go, it's, chlorinated water, whatever. It's gonna kill
just
whatever.
reeking like chlorine. Your skin's getting all dry and ashy.
Yeah. It's, it is what it is. You throw a little lotion on, it's all gonna even itself out. But I like having that. But yeah, that would I'm trying to figure out a way to put a hot tub in my condo. I've already made it basically like between my pool table and Papa Shot and all the video games and you know shoes that I wanted when I was a kid that I'm buying now. Like it is just like a grown man's childhood fantasy of what an apartment should be, and a hot tub would really take it to the next level.
What if instead of putting a hot tub in your condo, because I imagine, like square footage is an issue, you don't want to take up too much space. What if instead of that, you get one of those stretch Hummer limos with the jacuzzi on the back of it? That way, you've just got like a mobile one. And if you want to hop in the hot tub, you just go down to the car.
But I'm on Edgewater, and parking over here is a pain in the ass. So
Oh,
I
that's
couldn't
true.
imagine trying to street park that, and I don't think it would fit in my spot that I have in the garage. But I like the way you're thinking. You're being creative about it, and maybe what I could do is I could just make that my second home. Like
There you go. Yeah.
that's my
I
home
mean,
away
it's a
from home.
practical purchase.
Yeah, yeah. I'm all into practical purchases. It's the best way to go. And a limo with a hot tub in the back is the most practical purchase I can think of in 2021.
It makes sense.
Hmm. When it comes to like doing music and stuff like that, you posted something the other day about not overthinking things and not over producing your stuff, and kind of when it comes to like writing lyrics and stuff like that. Um, can we just talk about that? Because I'm similar with stand up.
What did I post? I don't remember.
It was something on your story, and it was
Oh, I think that was like stuff I screenshotted from a Reddit thread. So that was
yes.
somebody else's words, but yeah. So like, this is kind of a theme that I've been glomming onto. Is glomming a word?
Yeah.
A thing I've been doing, where it's just like, there's a limited amount of time and energy that you have to put into anything, and I would rather put out something than put out nothing. So like, I'm going to do the best that I can with the amount of time and energy that I have available for this certain project.
Time, energy, resources, all the different factors. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's not like what I initially imagined, but it's good enough, sometimes you just got to get the thing out the fucking door, like so I just released a new song called I'm Attracted to Cartoons. So my goal for this year is to release a new song once a month. And so that gives me 1 month to basically write, perform, record, produce, make album art for, and then distribute like a song once a month, and any kind of social media promotion I'm going to do for that. And so that right there that's a lot of work to be doing. That's hours and hours of work. But for this particular song, I was like, man, there's a lot of possibilities to make like a kick-ass music video for this. And I've also been like trying to learn how to use Adobe After Effects and stuff like that. And I was like, what if I had this video where I green screen myself into this like weird futuristic room, and there's screens floating around me with all kinds of hot cartoons like flying around me. And today, like, the song is finally like showing up on streaming services and stuff, and I'm like, I have too many irons in the fire. Like, I can't make that video. I don't have the energy or the time for it. And
Right.
so I just got to move on to the next project. And so it's not what I initially imagined, but I think the song is great. Like, I'm proud of the song.
I like
And
the
I
song
hope,
too. I checked it out and have played it, and it's funny. It's you know what you do. It's funny, but it's like you could turn that on and somebody wouldn't really know that it was a funny song until they started like really listening to the lyrics. Like, I think it's a very and you have the ability to not only create good music, but you're a good lyricist, and that's not the easiest thing.
well, the running joke for me, and the thing that I don't think, like, if you don't know me well, it probably doesn't print. But the running joke for me is to come up with the dumbest idea imaginable and then spend way too much time on it.
Oh,
Like,
I love it.
that's my bit. And,
I love things like that, and like I love that creative process too. It's like, can I make a joke about this? And I do a contest with comedians that's more of a writing exercise where we take suggestions from the audience. It's called Stand and Deliver, and then two comics have to write about those topics in like an hour. And
nice.
so it forces you to get outside of what you would normally write about, because all of a sudden you're writing a song, a joke about shoelaces, and you're like, I don't know how to write a joke about shoelaces. And then you push yourself and you get out of that comfort zone and you find a way to make it funny, or you don't.
Yeah, I think if you force yourself to, if you give yourself a time limit, then
Mhm.
you realize it really makes you prioritize things, and it makes you realize that, all of these things that I think are really super important to make it as polished as possible, not essential into making something a success. You don't need all that shit to make it work. Like, you can polish it up if you have the time and energy for it, but if not, just get it out the door.
Yeah, and just keep feeding the beast, because especially in this day and age where if you just want to create content and have that uh, ability, you're going to keep getting better at making content, and so that polish will start adding on because of the repetitiveness. Like, whether it's a podcast, that's whenever people ask me like, how do I get into radio? I go, start a podcast. Have you started a
Yeah.
podcast yet? And they go, oh, I don't know. I'm like, well, how, like, what do you have to say that's so amazing right now that they're immediately going to put you on air?
Right.
Nothing. So start a podcast, get used to talking about things, show prepping, treat it like a job. And then if you're good at that and you have the passion to do that, then maybe someday you'll be able to move it into, a talk radio career or whatever you want. But if you're not willing to make that take that step and just create on your own, then why would anybody invest in you to do it for them?
And as far as like not overthinking things, I guess to answer the original question, something that occurred to me recently is, if you make something, if you create something and you put it out there and it's a dud, like, it doesn't work, it's not funny, it's nobody likes it, whatever. Nobody's going to remember that. Like, unless it's something really offensive that really like really pisses people off somehow, like if it's just regular ass bad, like nobody's going to remember it. It's just, it's not going to make an impact. If you repeatedly do that, people will get annoyed and they'll, stop following what you're doing. But if every once in a while you throw a dud out there, who cares? Like nobody's going to remember that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's kind of what I've done. Like I've released more comedy albums in the past 3 years than like just because I had the recording. I'm like, this is good. I like it. And so I'll put these out. But then I also don't make a big deal out of promoting it, because the way the algorithms work is not really based on my fan base. It's more just getting it into, the playlists, or, the other comedy channels on Pandora, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. And then they pick it up because they need new content all the time. And then it ends up, making me not a ton of money, but I'm making more than $4 streaming. I do a couple $100 every month.
Damn, that's great,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. So and it's just like, I want to have it cataloged. I don't want to keep doing those jokes forever. And then they're there. And then if I also like, I can still do them in my act whenever I want, because nobody, like, I don't have a hardcore enough following that everybody that comes to see me every time I'm out doing stand up has seen everything I've done. They might know a bit or two, but they don't know my entire catalog, because it's, pretty deep at this point.
So, I mean, not to harp on this, but a couple $100 a month just from streaming your comedy albums.
Yeah.
That's so. I think like if you're
So
not, if for
Pandora
somebody,
and Spotify are where I
okay,
get the most. Like Pandora, I do about between 70,000 and 100,000 streams a month. And then on Spotify, I do between like, Spotify's been dropping a little lately. So that's like usually between like, I want to say like 2 or 3 thousand, but they pay better than Pandora. But I do all right. And sometimes Spotify will jump and I'll get like 10 or 15,000 a month.
that's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
so like for anybody who doesn't have stuff out there on streaming services, like, so for perspective, 1,000 plays on streaming will get you like $3 on average.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really great.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. And again, it varies. The averages are just about that. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, and it also depends on the time of year. Like everything sucks around this time, around Christmas. So like nobody listens to what I was doing, but then January and February it jumps way back up. So it'll ebb and flow, like I said.
Social media was fucking dead over the holidays. I noticed like, I was posting stuff because I had time and it was just getting no action. And I was like, man, so many people are going to parties and hanging out with their families right
Mhm.
now. Y'all supposed to be quarantining.
Yeah, and then they're not posting it, and that's why the social media is not getting used,
Yeah,
because like
exactly.
I don't want to
Exactly.
get the people judging me on stuff. But yeah, social media is such a weird thing. And like it was kind of nice that it was dead, because you know until earlier this week it was silly. I felt like social media over like Christmas and the first week of the year, or first, just that Christmas break, I guess, you just saw a lot more silly stuff. And
Mhm.
then it got back to all the political stuff and all that stuff. And it was nice to see it kind of go back to what it was when Twitter started, where people were just goofing around making jokes, and it wasn't this platform
Hell
to
world.
just try and call people out on bullshit all the time.
Yeah.
I
I've
like
been
that.
taking it easy on like cancel culture, I guess. Like that's an annoying thing to say, but like for a while I was kind of I feel like I was leaning toward the group of people who would say, well, that celebrity is off limits forever because they said X thing that pissed
Mhm.
Y people off. And I was just thinking about this earlier today because I was listening to there's a singer named Madison Beer, and she's got some new music that I think she's got some bangers, and I was enjoying it. And then I was thinking about stuff I saw on Reddit where people were talking about things she said in interviews that came off the wrong way, and oh, you can't listen to her anymore. It's just like fucking annoying, like this, she's a kid, like let her make a
Yeah.
mistake every once in a while. Like it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, and they've taken it pretty far, where it's like the one Shane Gillis is a good example of the guy that was just goofing around on a podcast and then got canceled. And like, yes, I heard the podcast and I got it. Like, he was saying offensive things, but I've been on a billion podcasts, and if you went through all of them, you could probably find some dumb shit that I've said. Even on the Alan Cox show, like, we're just kind of under the radar, and like, we'll say dumb shit from time to time, and it's, it's not how I feel and believe. And there's, gray areas and things where, yes, there's people that will say dumb shit and they're trying to be funny and then it misses, and there's other people that are really just awful people. And I think
Right.
you can see the difference if you take your time and do that, and you're not just looking to always have someone be in your sights. And that's like, there's like these social justice snipers where they're just looking for people to pick off
Right.
because that's how they make their living.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with that. I also think it may be part of like an ecosystem of entertainment where, now with social media, there are so many people putting themselves and their content out into the world that maybe there's this like it feels unbalanced, and so people are trying to cancel some of these creators as a way to just like, hey, like it's enough fucking shit for us to consume, you know?
Yeah, but and with there being that much stuff, that's, like I said, that's some people's job. Like, that's how they feel creative, or that's how they get their content looked at. I mean, if you look at the YouTube world, YouTube stars beefing with each other is how they've built fan bases.
Right.
So like, they'll create this scenario, whether it's real or not, it doesn't matter, because it gets one fan base to go after the other fan base, and then they ups their views. And it's similar to the rap game of the 90s where they're like beefing with each other. So like, that conflict creates a buzz and it gets people talking. And then there's the only difference is there's such a heavy uh like, not casualty, but like, it takes people out, where it's like, oh, we got talked about, and it got this person completely, it took away their way to make a living, and it's making it into like this zero sum game, and I don't think it needs to be that way.
Are you into Tim Heidecker?
I know some of his stuff. I'm not like super into his stuff, but I know he's a funny dude.
I've been really inspired by him lately. He's got this TV show. It's been running for like a few years now, maybe like close to 10 years, I guess, but it's called On Cinema at the Cinema. And like the basis of this show is it's him and this guy, Greg Turkington. I don't know if that's his real name or not. But like the whole thing with the show is that the line between reality and what's a bit is so blurry. And they've built this whole like fictional universe around basically a really shitty movie review show where Tim has never seen any movie in his life, really. He doesn't know shit about movies. And Greg is like the biggest fucking movie nerd on the planet. And so there's that conflict between the two of them. But over the years, it's just exploded into this whole universe of fake drama where Tim Heidecker is this monster abusive boss. and like the fans of the show get into the lore and like the fake drama that's going on. Like if you go on the YouTube comments, people are choosing sides between the two of them, and
That's
like
funny.
it's
That's brilliant.
really, yeah, it's
And
really
that
brilliant.
and that's really like what people want to do, because they want to be engaged. Like, even when you listen to whether it's the Alan Cox show or Rover, people pick their character that they relate to, and the ones that are enemies. And so even though they like everybody, they have they have to choose sides. And so that's what we'll do from time to time. And I like doing it with the dumbest shit, like arguing about the dumb, like, I don't want to argue about the political stuff all the time. There's sometimes you're going to bring it up, but when we're talking about what candy's better, or if it's, do you race your pee when you flush it, stuff like that, like dumb shit.
Do you race your pee?
Yeah, like if you're peeing and you flush halfway through and then race the flush.
Oh, so you try to finish peeing before it's done flushing?
Yeah,
Oh
stuff
man,
like
that's a
that.
dangerous game.
I know it is. And bring a woman's point of view in it, like, is a splashback too much for you? Like, that's silly shit like that to argue, and like take a hard stance on something that's really unimportant, and then figure out why you've taken that hard stance, and then just have to kind of come up with reasons. uh that is that's the kind of conflict that I find entertaining,
Me too.
versus something that's like way more subjective and nuanced.
Yeah, I do food polls on Twitter where I'm like, pick your favorite thing from this list. And like legitimately, the thing that is my favorite from the list is always dead last. And so I get into arguments with people on Twitter about the like our favorite food things. And so like it's exciting because you're getting to like a legitimate argument with somebody, but it also doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's
And that's
harmless.
exactly right. And like, Alan's pretty particular about the foods that he likes. And so we'll have those kind of arguments. And like the thing that I got everybody worked up with this week is, and I've said this before, is that no one drank coffee the first time, like black coffee, and said it was good. Like it doesn't taste good. Like it's one of those things where like if you drink like black coffee the first time you drink it, it's very bitter and it
Hang on. Okay, so let's think about like the history of coffee. Like the coffee that is mass produced is roasted beyond recognition of what like the first cup of coffee probably tasted like, because that was not burnt to a goddamn crisp like they do with the mass produced kind of coffee. So like that's why when you go to the store, there's the bag of whole whole
beans.
bean coffee
Yeah.
that is like $20 for a pound, and that does not taste like Maxwell House. That's a different experience.
It is a different experience, but it is still an acquired taste. And I'm not saying it can't, like, because I drink black coffee and I like good black coffee. Like I understand that you can have a good, but I'm saying like the first taste test of coffee is not like this is refreshing and sweet and I enjoy it. It is kind of like, whoa, it kind of, it's because you don't know what to expect. And I'd say most people, and maybe, and again, it's one of those things where it doesn't matter, because if you drink it or don't drink it, it doesn't matter. But I think it's one of those things that it, even like the highest quality black coffee, if you give it to a child to taste it, they're going to be like, that's disgusting.
Oh, a child, yeah.
Yeah, but that's
an
what I'm
adult,
saying. Like, I think a child's taste buds, because our taste buds are also worn down to a point where we can enjoy stuff like that more. But like, a child or even like an adult that's never tasted coffee, they're going to drink a cup of coffee that's just black and they're going to be like, ugh.
There's this show, I think it was on Spike TV for a while, voiced by Ron Perlman, and it's canceled, but I don't have cable. I only watch free TV on Pluto now on my Roku. And so they have this show, and it's like a bunch of stupid ways to die, basically.
Oh yeah,
so,
1,000 Ways to Die.
Yeah. Excuse me. I should not be drinking Coke Zero while I'm recording a podcast with you. But
That's fine.
there was a lady who died because she had a thing where she would eat dirt, and she accidentally ate dirt that was fertilized with human turds, and that's what killed her. But like this woman was like, you know what? I can go for some dirt right now.
I got a hankering for some dirt.
And like, and my wife showed me something on social media, and it was like, if you have a craving for blah, that means you actually need blah. And one of the things on the list was, if you have a craving for dirt, you are deficient in these vitamins. Like, who gets a craving for dirt? Apparently this is a thing though.
Yeah, and that's like there, and because there's so many more people now and life expectancy has gone way up, we're going to find out a lot more of this, because there's probably a few people back in the day that would have this kind of craving, but now there's so many people and the survival rate is higher because medicine's better and access to healthcare is better, that you're going to be able to eat the dirt and live, rather than back when you just eat the dirt and then you get, tuberculosis or smallpox or whatever is going to take you out anyway. So you weren't going to pass
I don't know.
it on.
I think maybe people ate dirt a lot more back in the day. Like we have organs that are made to filter toxins out of our bodies that those organs don't really
but not
much use
compulsively. I would say they wouldn't eat as, like, if you're compulsively eating dirt, I think that's got to be some like a mental neurosis probably, right?
Well, so let's say you're a caveman and everything you eat has some dirt.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's providing some kind of nutrition that if 100% of your food has zero dirt, like you're missing out on something. Like, so you got to space the dirt out.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Dirt is a garnish, and that's all. We have to
start supplementing dirt now.
Yeah.
Because
so like just like a sprinkle of dirt. You don't want to go too much with your dirt, but you just want like a dash, like a little pinch of dirt.
Pinch of dirt.
Yeah. Oh, that's some good dirt over there. You get that nice. That's almost mud. You don't want that. You don't want mud. I don't want some watery dirt. I want some nice, dry, crunchy dirt.
Is this what people? So when people are like tasting things on cooking shows and they say this has an earthy flavor, they're talking about dirt, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like this tastes like dirt.
This tastes like dirt. This is actually not good, but I'm just gonna say earthy because I'm pretentious. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna let you go. I got a football game to take a nap before because that's how I do. But I also want to get this all edited. But where can people find you, and how can they help support your music?
Oh, hey, how about this? So I have a podcast called Don't Get the Soup. Since you're listening to Bill's podcast now, you're already on a podcast listening spot. So search for Don't Get the Soup and listen to us. And I believe, Bill, you'll be joining us next week.
That's correct. I'll be on next week, and I'm excited to do so. And then he's Fake Real Miles across all social media, and then search Taintsmasher on all the music apps and check out his music. It's very funny. And then one of his all-time great things that he did for the Alan Cox Show was Fap God, which is still getting views every single day. Like, it's still one of our top viewed video.
That was all your idea. So fucking brilliant idea.
I said, hey, could you do instead of Rap God, do Fap God? And then you made an amazing song out of that one idea. And that's something that you give a lot of people credit for. Like Charlie will have an idea and be like, hey, can you do this? And then, you do a great job of taking these ideas that we have and making an actual production. So don't change yourself on that. Because that wasn't like, it's not like I wrote any lyrics for you at all.
I wouldn't have done anything if you hadn't said anything.
Right. But that's all I said. I take the credit for giving you the idea, but then you took it and ran with it.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the collaboration. Thanks for having me on, man. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. And I'll see you next week on your podcast.
Sweet.
Peace.
Peace.
This is the Bill Squire Show.